This week on Culture Q, Jamie Clayton debuts her ferocious Pinhead.
J.K. Rowling stirs up controversy with her latest book.
And we chat up filmmaker Brendan Brandt. What is going on? Is Zaina Lawani.
And I'm Shar Jossel. This is Culture Q.
And here's some of the highlights from this week in queer culture.
Spooky season is just around the corner, and we've been eagerly anticipating Hulu's Hellraiser reboot. In case you didn't know, Sense8 actress Jamie Clayton will be playing the iconic role of Pinhead and just gave us a sneak peek into her character. Much like the original Pinhead from the 1987 classic, the photo is chilling, and Clayton's version adds thrills to those chills with her sleek and strangely beautiful look. We love a Cenobite queen that can slay both ways.
We have such sights to show you.
There have been several sequels and adaptations for Hellraiser, but this is the first time Pinhead will be played by a woman, even though the character was described as androgynous with the femme voice in The Hellbound Heart. In other movie news, Tommy Dorfman is stepping behind the camera for her next project, and she's looking for a non-binary lead. Dorfman took to Instagram announcing a casting call for Benjamin DeBacher, the lead character of I Wish You All the Best.
We are casting somebody to play a non-binary teenager in North Carolina.
I Wish You All the Best is a popular young adult novel written by Mason Deaver that follows Ben after they're kicked out of their family home. Now, in addition to directing, Dorfman also adapted the screenplay. Twitter was ready with positive reactions. User Riley Ferocity says, "One of my favorite humans has adapted one of my favorite books in the world for screen, and I have no idea how to act." The sentiment was echoed by other excited fans. Add this film to the list of exciting things happening for Dorfman. The actress also just announced her engagement to her longtime mystery girlfriend. Were we expecting Megan Thee Stallion and Tatiana Maslany twerking on She-Hulk? No. Was it something the universe knew we needed? Oh yeah.
I am doing groundbreaking things, twerking in Marvel. And I like to think of myself as a version of Thanos.
She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, surprised fans during an end credit scene where Jen Walters is proving she will do anything for her new client, including twerk.
Megan Thee Stallion!
I will kill for you, Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh, you are way more fun than my last lawyer.
Megan plays herself and appears when a shape-shifting white elf from another world pretends to be Megan. Then the real Megan shows up to let everyone know there can only be one. Understandably, everyone on set was extremely excited when Megan showed up, and they had a list of people who they wanted in on the fun. The list may or may not have included Mark Ruffalo, who shared his audition tape for the Megan Cinematic Universe. We see Megan sign on to be one of Jen's clients, which prompts the twerking celebration. It's still unknown exactly which superpowers qualify Megan to be added to the roster, but we cannot wait to find out.
In other news, J.K. Rowling has written a book about a female creator who is criticized for her transphobic views. And no, it's not an autobiography. The latest book by Rowling, which is under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith, is called The Ink Black Heart and is the 6th installment of the Cormoran Strike crime thriller series. In the book, Eddie Ledwell is the co-creator of a popular YouTube cartoon called The Ink Black Heart. After a cartoon including a hermaphrodite worm comes out, Eddie gets death threats and rape threats from the internet trolls. Though apparently it's all a coincidence, there are several sections that read just like a page from Rowling's diary. Recently, Rowling went on the Graham Norton radio show to set the record straight.
I should make it really clear after some of the things that have happened to me online in the last year that I'd written the book before certain things happened to me online.
This isn't the first time Rowling has been accused of using her alter ego to spread anti-trans sentiment. One of the previous Robert Galbraith books included a cross-dressing serial killer. Might not seem so bad, but when it's coming from a transphobe, it's easy to be suspicious. Even Rowling's pen name has some people scratching their heads. The pen name Robert Galbraith seems to be connected to a psychiatrist, Robert Galbraith Heath, who was a major player in the conversion therapy movement. Rowling insists the name is a mashup of Robert Kennedy and Ella Galbraith, which was a pen name she used when she was younger. You probably guessed it, but Twitter was not so easily convinced, and neither am I. Brad Takei made his reaction short and sweet with, "Who does she think she's fooling? While user Ragnarok Lobster spoke for several users, saying, spoilers, the protagonist whines endlessly about being canceled while their IP continues to generate millions in revenue for them.
In our LGBTQ news that you need to know, a 25-year-old transgender man died after an attack where he sustained massive head injuries. The man, who was only identified as Malt C, was attending Christopher Street Day in Munster, Germany. An unknown person was yelling homophobic slurs at a pair of women, and Malt went over to help. The assailant knocked Malt down and punched him in the face until he was unconscious. Sadly, the young man died 7 days later. The German LGBTQ+ commissioner Sven Lehmann said that the death made him sad and shocked. He stated, "The perpetrator of this horrific hate crime must be caught quickly and held accountable. I hope Malt's death will shake up our society." The Twitter account Transgender Germany was on the case, giving constant updates. They were the first to report Malt's passing and organized a vigil march that was expected to have between 800 and 1,200 people. Over 6,500 people showed up to pay their respects. Good news for LGBTQ rights comes from the Caribbean, where a court in St. Kitts and Nevis struck down a colonial-era law that banned the abominable crime of buggery. The Offenses Against the Person Act was imported from England during the colonization of the island nation. It carried a maximum penalty of 10 years with hard labor. Judge Trevor Ward ended the decision to strike sections 56 and 57 with the following statement. He stated, "To the extent that criminalizes the private lives of gay persons in this year, the law is excessive and arbitrary." The change was celebrated as one of the many liberalizing changes for the Caribbean. Sodomy laws were overturned in Antigua and Barbuda in the Barbados. The Prime Minister has publicly committed to advancing LGBTQ rights. In other news, Europride was set to take place in Serbia from September 12th to the 18th, but the current president said no. Here's why. In Belgrade, a group led by the Serbian Orthodox Church and joined by right-wing hate groups and pro-Russian nationalists protested the event in large numbers, regardless of the fact that the event had already been canceled. Maybe it's time they knew that Pride organizers would try to find a way to celebrate despite President Vučić saying otherwise. In a press conference, President Vučić said, "The Pride Parade, or whatever you want to call it, has been canceled." Europride took to Twitter to say, "It is not, only the organizers can cancel the event." The Serbian Prime Minister Ana Brnabić is openly gay and is said to fully support Pride, a detail that Europride is counting on. The official statement reads, Ana Brnabić promised the full support of the Serbian government for Europride in Belgrade, and we expect that promise to be honored.
It's been a busy week in the US, and we're ready to wind this one down. Here are some titles the whole family can enjoy this weekend. Our first selection is Louis Anderson, Big Underwear. Iconic comedian and 3-time Emmy Award winner Louis Anderson is one of the country's most recognized and adored comics. In his 6th comedy special, Big Underwear, he again delivers to his fans his unique brand of humor and warmth from the historic Palace Theater in Los Angeles to your living rooms. Anderson plays on the challenges of getting healthy, life on the road, dealing with technology, and how we all eventually become our parents. Next, there's Honey Glue. After learning she only has 3 months to live, Morgan flips her conservative protected life upside down. That is where she meets Jordan, a rebellious, gender-defying artist who takes her on an adventure of a lifetime. Finally, we have Victor's Last Class. This heartfelt documentary follows a brazen acting teacher suffering from chronic pain who announces he is going to end his life. Filmmaker Brendan Brandt spends the next 5 months trying to change Victor's mind and learns lessons about life and saying goodbye. The tagline is, "Tell the truth to the people you love," and it's reflected in the film's very honest perspective. For all these titles and so much more, you can stream it right here, right now on Revry. Victor's Last Class is the documented journey of Victor D. Altorio, an out and proud man who suffered from chronic pain and made a surprising decision. We chatted with filmmaker Brendan Brandt about his thought-provoking film. Sometimes it pays off to show up early to the party. Filmmaker Brendan Brandt showed up to an empty house and had the time to talk to the host about a letter they'd just received. Inside was notice that their good friend Victor was choosing to end his own life.
And the more he told me about this guy, I was just like, wow. And so basically I said, do you think he'd be willing to meet me just to have lunch?
Victor agreed to meet, and Brandt was instantly inspired by Victor's bravado and resolved to document the process.
you know, everyone's been touched by suicide, and you never get a chance to talk to those people and hash it out with them and ask them all those questions you want to ask them and try to change their mind even. It just had to happen, so it did.
From there, Victor became an integral part of Brandt's life. The two worked together for months, and Brandt put together an acting class for Victor, the last he'd felt he'd ever teach. Together, the team built an unwavering trust.
He insisted on a rule of absolutely no lying. So we were completely honest with each other 100%. And because of the stakes of his circumstance was so high, that created a super, super intense bond.
Through that bond, Brandt found he was able to be more vulnerable than he had ever been before. He learned so much from Victor, and not just from the Meisner method, but something much more important.
So the most important one was honesty, even if it's painful. And just telling the truth. And so like the tagline of the movie is tell the truth to the people you love. And I think that is the most important thing, that if anyone gets anything from the film, and that's what I learned, is that you have to tell the truth to the people you love. That is super important.
A film like this can be very polarizing. Brandt has seen a wide range of emotions on showcase at his screenings. It's then that he sees the real impact Victor's last class had and continues to have.
I had a woman come up to me at a screening and, you know, crying and hugging me, telling me about, you know, their best friend that ended their life in high school and they never got the closure they wanted, and they felt like this was a love letter from their best friend, and it, you know, like that kind of thing. It can be very cathartic and healing for people.
Though the film has been impactful for others, the largest effect was first and foremost on Brandt himself. The film changed him, and he'd say it was for the better.
I do think like that Brendan is still in me, but I get to observe the change in the movie, actually, of me, you know, moving away into more of a mature adult Brendan thanks to Victor.
You can catch Victor's Last Class streaming right now on Revry.
This week's Culture Q inspiration is Nico Young, a star college athlete that ran right out of the closet and into our hearts. The record-breaking runner holds the American Junior 5K records in both indoor and outdoor events. He took to Instagram to make a very important announcement. The caption read, "This may come as a shock to some of you, but this is something I have always known and have finally decided to share with the world. I like guys, not girls." Young went on to say he kept the news to himself out of fear of rejection. It's a sentiment that many could relate to, as his comments flooded with support. Filmmaker and actor Jay Duplass commented, "I just became an even bigger fan," while fellow runner and world champion Talitha Dix said, "I'm proud of you, Nico. Amazed at the power and strength that you put into this." And two-time Olympian and world champion Kara Gucher replied, "Someone will read this and know that they can be brave and be themselves." It's a small reminder of the positive impact coming out can have. In his caption, Young also said he'd struggled to accept himself, but he's become more happy and proud with who he is. "I have realized that the only reason I never liked this part of who I am is because of what society has told me, not because of how I actually feel." He went on to talk about the importance of a supportive community and his desire to be a representative and an advocate for others who are struggling. Young finished triumphantly saying, "My name is Nico Young and I am proud to be gay." Congrats, Nico. We can't wait to see what's next from you. And that's all for this week on Culture Q. I'm Shar Jossell.
And it's Andy Lawani signing out.
Thanks for hanging with us this week.
And be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.